in some cases, if you're lucky, you get some sort of overt notice that this is going to happen. But, let's assume that, you want to be more proactive. I guess the obvious question is, how do you prevent a DDoS attack? And, if somebody asks me that question, I typically say you can't prevent a DDoS attack. There's always going to be bad actors out there who are going to try and do something to your network. So it's more of a case of getting in front of it, getting ahead of it, and planning for that eventuality if you do have an attack.
Yeah. So you're right. You can't prevent it. It's always going to happen. So you can ensure that you know what you've got out there, what's exposed in terms of your sites and resources that are critical to your business's online presence. Then make sure that those are well configured. You're following best practices so that they can optimize the performance out of those, right? Because again, we see, for example, some sites that don't have, say, database caching turned on, and that's a tremendous weak point in their website performance. With some optimizations, you can improve that greatly, and you can withstand some attacks better. Granted, you still can come under attack, but you've knocked out some of the really, really easy ones. And then understanding, okay, well, are these in the right place? Are these located in the right location? Do we have enough bandwidth for them? Are they going to perform okay? And what's our cost around these kinds of things? And if we had to go ask for help, what would we monitor? Who would we ask for help? And that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So a lot of what you're talking about is also, it's more of the technical nature of how you address it. But I think it's important also to realize that there's a people component, there's a process component, and any type of planning to protect yourself against the DDoS attack typically would involve multiple business units potentially. And I think if you have an incident response plan, if you have a crisis response plan, if you have business continuity plan, all DDoS attacks have to be incorporated as part of all that planning process.
Yeah, one of the key things I'm seeing people start to do in the space is to understand exactly that. And part of it is bringing the right stakeholders together from the different groups who are affected by this technology and setting expectations. Yours is less critical than this one over here. Therefore, we're going to get to this, yours second, maybe this one first. And understanding, okay, well, this is what we're going to try to do to make sure that you're back online right away. We're going to do our best to make sure this happens, say, in 4 hours or whatever, that kind of thing. And setting those expectations, that's you're sitting around a table and discussing, but again, it's better to do it beforehand than in the heat of an attack and everybody's sort of screaming at you and wondering what happened.
Yeah, and it's usually, in the long run, if you're in an incident response and trying to mitigate the after effects of an attack, it's typically more expensive to deal with it after the fact. I like to say it's cheaper to keep people out of your network than to get them out of the network once they're in. So
yeah,
that's a typical conversation that I would have with a customer as well. I think also there's different types of solutions out there, and it's important for people to understand that you can only throw so much technology at a problem in order to try and solve it. But not all technology is optimized to defend against a DDoS type of attack. Traditional network defenses like firewall, like intrusion prevention, maybe they address certain components, but it's not really a DDoS solution. From the ground up in terms of how it monitors, how it kicks in and helps you defend your network. I think it's important. You have to have services that support your defense strategy as well. For example, if your ISP can handle a lot of the attack on their core network and mitigate it upstream before it even hits your network, there's obviously advantages to that as well, right?
Definitely, yeah. And then again, that's why you want to know what's available. With my ISP, who would I call? What would I ask for? How can I make sure that happens quickly? And if it's very critical to you, establish that right away. And so we're seeing people incorporate this in their sort of irregular process, their regular cycle, which is good to see. They're asking these questions. If we were to come under attack, who needs to be involved? Who would we externally go to? What are our gaps? And I'm excited to see that. I'm very pleased to see that sort of the maturity of the IT and security component within the business growing.